Deputy Speaker of Bungoma County Assembly, could you let us know whether your committee has interrogated this report? Because the same timelines given to the Senate apply to the County Assembly. You ought to have considered, debated, and taken appropriate action by 31st of March.
We are in receipt of the recommendations from the Senate, and we are to adopt the same recommendations, only that we've been in recess. We actually resumed on 2nd of this month.
Why don't you have a Public Accounts Committee? Because I know the Liaison Committee is a committee of chairs. Why don't you have a committee whose focus is just to look at these reports?
We've had the PAC committee, but its timelines lapsed. When it was reconstituted, the names were rejected on the floor of the House. And as per the standing orders, the Liaison Committee now has to come in as a caretaker committee on the same for a short time because of reconstitution of the same committee.
You are responsible for primary oversight. When we come to Nairobi and we are looking at construction of ward offices and construction of roads, it does not make a lot of sense for us to make resolutions on projects on the ground. You are in a better place to do so. Does the county attorney advise the assembly as well? Or the assembly has its own legal advisor?
Yeah, we have legal advisors from the assembly.
Because if the assemblies were to do what is expected of them, then this exercise in the Senate would be a very quick one. For your information, Kakamega County Assembly, they were able to convince us when their governor came here that they had already considered the report. And so we ended up taking their recommendations. I think it should be that way, not you taking the recommendations of the Senate, because you have better visibility on the ground.
Is Robert Simiu a member of Cpac?
Is here, you can confirm.
Yes.
Where's Robert Simiu? Please, that's a very direct question.
I'm not a member of Cpac.
Okay.
What's your professional background?
I'm a fiscal planner by profession.
OAG, what is the requirement for people who sign off on financials?
Chairman, it's expected that those who sign financial statements are supposed to be qualified in the profession. In this case, Cpac registration and qualification is a requirement.
So, Governor, when you are inviting Cpac to provide capacity building on somebody who's not a member of Cpac and is not a qualified accountant, how is that helping the people of Bungoma?
You will train those who are qualified.
And you can see the problems are many. If you look at all the issues here, these are financial reporting issues, unreconciled variances between statements and payroll records. Then you go to unreconciled variances on transfers to other county governments. There is another one on scholarships, unaccounted for capital. All of these things to do with financial reporting. Governor, there are no members of Cpac in Bungoma who can be chief officer for finance, and you can reassign your friend Robert something else to do.
Maybe what does the law say about appointment of a chief officer for finance? Maybe that according to the County Government Act.
You have been told,
Governor,
Yeah, I'm just.
you are not the one to ask questions.
I have no problem handling questions from the governor, but Governor, remember you are the person with the executive authority to assign responsibility for chief officers, and because you come from the same place I come from, we usually say that you cannot use the cow that you used to milk, you take it to plow the field. It's a mismatch of what do they say? Mismatch of skills. In Kiluya, that's what they say, Honorable. And that is the reason why I started by asking the Auditor General to give us what the expectation is, and I'll find the exact provision of the law so that we help the governor.
And reconcile variance between financial statements and payroll records on compensation of employees. The statements of receipts and payments reflect compensation of employees amounting to Kenya shillings 4,859,170,763, and as disclosed in Note 3 to the financial statements. However, the supporting payrolls reveal expenditure amounting to Kenya shillings 5,452,051,258, resulting to unreconciled and unexplained variance of Kenya shillings 592,880,495. In the circumstances, the accuracy and completeness of compensation of employees amounting to Kenya shillings 4,859,170,763 could not be confirmed. Thank you, Chairman.
Why was 592 million not reconciled?
And finally, Chair, if these documents were brought, has it been explained now, that variance?
There's 592 million that has been queried here, which could not be explained at the time of audit.
We have shared with the Auditor General the reconciliation. In fact, Chair, we had shared this reconciliation with them in November when we were doing the audit. But
could you just address the question? What is a correct figure for compensation of employees?
The correct figure, Chair, is 4.8 billion.
So
yes.
How can you have that big mismatch between the payroll records, which is the basis upon which the financials are prepared?
Yes, Chair, the payroll record is a basis. Yes, it's true. But you see that not every transaction, for example, casuals, we don't pay them through IPPD because there are no personal numbers.
Auditor General, what is the correct expenditure on employees from your analysis?
The correct figure was supposed to be 5,452,051,258, but now that the financial statement were presenting a figure of 4,859,170,763. That is why we raised the variance.
So from your perspective, which figure should be taken? Is it the 5.4 or 4.8, having gone through the reconciliation that the gentleman is talking about?
Okay, Chair, the corrective figure for that year was 5,452,051,258.
Now, that's very serious because you are, when you say that is the correct figure, then we need to know what happened to the 592 million. Auditor, beyond that long action taken, please just assure us that variance on Kimilili municipality, are you satisfied with the explanations that were given?
The variances had not been reconciled, and also the action plan that is indicated, it is not in line with the recommendations of the committee.
Kimilili municipality, that 39 million, can you give us an assurance on that variance? Does it still exist?
Chair, the variances still exist.
Bungoma municipality?
Yes, Chair, it still exists.
Bungoma County Climate Change Fund?
Even that one, it is existing.
Scholarships and other educational benefits?
Still existing.
Governor, why then are we now engaging in an academic exercise here? Look at scholarships and other educational benefits. The executive transferred 195 million, but only 165 million was received. What happened to the 30 million? That is the question.
Good.
And it cannot be answered by a narration. It must be answered by a detailed schedule. Because otherwise, one would say that 195 million left the county and only 165 million went to students. And they'll say you stole the balance.
By that time, we had not opened those special purpose accounts. So we paid on their behalf. In accounting terms, we call it payment in kind.
Governor, how do you explain that in the market in Kimilili? The accrual and cash. Because at the end of the day, your opponents will pick these reports and say that you took 195 million for bursaries, but only 165 million materialized.
The CEC says they have provided information, but the auditor has not seen it.
Yes, auditor, please help us because
Have you received that reconciliation?
It's going to define how we are proceeding.
Chair, we have not received the reconciliation.
Yeah, so the CEC...
Mr. Makoa, are you Christian or Muslim?
Or, there's also
I'm a
traditional...
Christian. I'm a Quaker by faith.
Because you are about to take the oath. Because you are either misleading us or the OAG is misleading us. One entity is misleading this committee.
It's very simple here, because we can just confirm.
So when you send a letter somewhere, see, it is received.
It is received.
So what do you have to show that they received that document? Or you gave somebody who's sitting here. You tell us who you gave.
Chair, we submitted the responses to the office of the OAG when we were addressing the ML and the DAR, the draft auditor general report.
You have a document. You know, I'm also an accounting officer.
Yes, I can provide that, Chair, because we submitted.
What was the mode of transmission? Was it physical?
It was received and stamped by OAG.
Physical?
Yes.
Now, there are two things. There is provision of the details and the OAG agreeing that it makes sense. So, OAG, did you receive and analyze and it didn't respond to the issue, or did you not receive at all?
According to the documents that we verified when we were doing the audit, that reconciliation was not among the documents.
Did they, when this matter arose in the management letter, did they provide further records?
Yes, Chair. The query has been existing from the management letter to the draft level and to the final report.
I'm struggling because the first issue we are throwing accusations against each other. Your officer says they provided, the auditor says it was not provided. The second issue here, which is extremely critical, because the first one was 592 million. Again here, we have got variances of almost 200 million. Again, it's a ping pong. Are we making efficient use of this session?
What is frustrating for us as a committee is when we are caught in between the entity saying one thing and the OAG saying the other. All you need to do when you appear before this committee is to show me a letter that has been delivered to the Office of the Auditor General, and the attachments are listed there saying these are the reconciliations on this issue number 1 and number 2, number 3. If for 2, there's maneno mingi. You can even take a photo of him receiving. So that
Chairman, ordinarily in preparation for this meeting, we have procedures. And from OAG Chairman, 2 days before the day of the meeting, we're supposed to provide a brief to this committee. And our procedures require that we have preparation meetings, at least 2, which are supposed to be documented and minuted. And the persons who have attended those meetings are supposed to be recorded to indicate who was present. And then the governor is supposed to be invited in the final meeting so that he's properly briefed to be able now to appear in this meeting, Chairman.
The people of Bungoma have expectations of us. And when we even come here, we come here because we want to clarify a few things, and something can be taken out of context and make it appear like, even the money is lost when it's not true, when it's a business of, just somebody being truthful to say, I provided this document or I did not provide that document. So I think I'm equally very disappointed that we are at this point where we are, just because we are not, one of us is not speaking the truth. But we'll get to the bottom of it. Just like we are saying, if a document was received, it will be stamped and, received. And if it was not received, it will not be received. I know me, I don't like complications. You know me, Chair. Even when I was a speaker, I'm a very straightforward person. I'll want just tell me this is red or white. But this business of taking us in circles, we received, we did not receive, okay, let's check, we have a track, that cannot continue.
OAG and that gentleman, could you tell us how much was spent on salaries in that financial year? I don't want to hear the accrual and cash basis and the technical jargon. Just give us the figure that we should work with.
Chair, we spent 4.8 billion. That was cash.
OAG?
Chairman, from the scrutiny of records, primary records, the county spent 5.4 billion, but reported 4.8 in the financial statement.
And the variance is 590 million. A very, very, very big variance. If it was a few thousands, I think we would have already brushed off this thing and moved on to the next issue.
Chairman, looking at the reconciliation they provided, which was dated 24th of September 2024, yes, the reconciliation was provided, but the auditor is asking where are the details. When you give me a figure of, say, 2.4 million, 32 million,
The reconciliation was
where are the details?
through a journal voucher?
No,
or it was a schedule?
it was a schedule, Chairman. Yes.
And you are yet to agree with the county?
Yeah, because we have to see what are the details that
So
make up
those
these figures.
documents you want, have you made it clear to the entity what you're looking for?
Chairman, we have agreed, and I remember when even before you came for this meeting, they were saying those reports, because they are so numerous, they can only be given in soft copy. This is what the officer said in the morning. And we're in agreement. Let them give us that information, even in soft copy. We have the tools to be able to analyze them and give and
Yes, Chair.
come up with a reconciliation.
Governor?
I think it's very clear that they're saying they have not looked at what information has been provided to them yet. So I think it will be important that we give them time to look at that so that they come up with a figure that is agreeable to all of us. Because, this one is saying differently. They have not yet checked exactly what has been provided. So I think it will just be back and forth.
It's not the first time this matter has come up. Why should we at this point still be asking for additional information and additional time for reconciliation? Because this was in your management letter. The details were in the ML. Can you confirm that? Can you confirm that the details were in the management letter?
I was just trying to get a way forward.
No, that's an escape route. We must deal with the 500 million.
Okay. If you want to, let's then proceed, because it's going to be, we say this, the auditor says this. And all I was saying that if they have said they have received information which they need to verify, then why don't you give them even 2 days or 3 days to do it? Then we are prepared. Otherwise, we are not going to agree. They will be saying something different. We say something different.
At this point, we will go with the auditor's number. Now, if you go with the auditor's number, we'll have 500 million, which is suspicious, and where people can make all sorts of interpretation.
Chairman, we will advise that let them give us those soft copies of that information, even in a flash disk. We'll be able to run that information through the tools that we have, then we come up with the correct figures and advise this committee, Chairman.
Okay.
Because they're saying that information is available.
Chair, in fact, we discussed in the morning and already shared to their email the details that they had requested. So it is already shared, Chair.
This matter remains outstanding because we still cannot understand, and it has not been explained, what that variance of 592 million is. And until the auditor does a verification, I think the committee will be going with a figure of 5.4, as highlighted by the Auditor General.
But Governor, I want you just to know that these sessions are critically important. If there are people within your team that are letting you down, don't allow yourself to be embarrassed by people who don't want to do the job. And you'll go back to the conversation when we started about proper allocation for the skills that you have. Those gaps, you fill them. Governor, in the last, I think, 6 months, one of your colleagues appeared before this committee, and a week later, him and his wife were arrested by EACC. There's another one who left here 1 month ago, less than a month ago, who's now the subject of an impeachment process in his committee because of the conversations that come out of this committee. We don't intend that these conversations result in anything punitive. But if your officers do not prepare well for these meetings, the consequences can be quite grave. Yeah. So I think what the direction of the chair has is full of wisdom. Go and crack the whip.
The people of Bungoma really dramatized the wheelbarrows. You remember were they carcinogenic or non-carcinogenic wheelbarrows?
They were non-carcinogenic.
They were non-carcinogenic.
Non-carcinogenic, which is true, I maintain.
But you remember how it was twisted. There were the COVID-19 jerrycans, which were said to have cost 10,000. So you also need to be very careful because these are not just numbers. People can come up with a script very quickly.
Where there are gaps, I'll strive to narrow the gaps or eliminate them so that we give the best to the people of Bungoma. My officers who are here have had, and when I go back, definitely I will see what I can do to improve performance in Bungoma, and to maybe when we appear next, we will not get to where we have been today. Thank you.
I must say that I was a bit disappointed one time when you were. I know at home our siasa might take certain turns, but I thought it was unbecoming of you to insinuate that senators have no role in the amount of money that comes to counties. Just a minute.
Order, Governor.
The phrase you used is in Kibukusu. I'm translating it. That if indeed we are the ones who slam the table so that money comes, can you try and slam so that it comes back?
Okay.
Yes, just a minute, Governor.
Because I was under severe attack by the senator who said when I had come and he was not doing anything. So I said, okay, if you make money to come to Bungoma, go and hit the table so that it goes back. It was in that context, those that I was trying to, but I get your point.
You therefore wish to withdraw and apologize?
To who?
To the Senate.
No, I will do it where I say it. I did not say it in this committee, so I will say it where I said. And in any case, we already reconciled. We already sorted. We reconciled, and we have no issues.
It is so directed.
Okay, Chair.